Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with your Hollywoke hot take. Yes, it's time. It's time for more Hollywoke. I know, brace yourselves. Smash like and subscribe while you're bracing yourself, and please check out my books, including Woke, a standard novel, and Hollywoke, another novel where I write a political satire about stuff like this. And also check out the Pineys, books 1 through 5, book 6 coming very soon. In the editing stage now, Joan. In the editing stage now. I know you're very excited. Very excited. Let's get into it. Oh, also we're on BitChute and Rumble. BitChute and Rumble, Joe. All right? All right. Be a good girl. Be a good girl for this broadcast, okay? Minnesota Cinderella theater production canceled after 98% of the cast was white. Who cares? The Chanhassen Dinner Theater in Minnesota canceled Cinderella this year after 98% of the cast was white. This is getting completely insane and out of hand. You're just being racist in a slightly different way. Okay? It's all going to come out eventually, how racist you were. I remember back in the 70s and 80s, they would show documentaries about the civil rights movement, and these people who were prejudiced against black people in the South a lot of times would say and do things that were terrible, but they were things like this. Oh, you can't have a particular color of people be 98% of the cast. It's the same thing. You just think you're justified doing it this way. You're caught up, just like they were, in some sort of moral panic. And you will be called out for the racist that you are. One day. Not now. Because the woke continue to drive this. This is obscene. Rose McGowan slams Kamala Harris joining Bill Clinton for an event on empowering women. Thank God somebody has. At least Rose McGowan can see the hypocrisy here. Yeah, it's dumb. Did I click on the article? Oh, guess I did. I thought I had it. Oh, there we go. Harris and Clinton are scheduled to speak Friday on the impact of beer virus pandemic on women and empowering women and girls in the U.S. around the world, according to the release from the Clinton Foundation. Here's what Rose McGowan said. This is obscene, Kamala Harris. You're speaking with Bill Clinton about empowering women and girls is disgusting. Have you no soul? Have you no ethics? I think you answered your own question. Ask him about being on an island of human trafficking victims 27 times. You are showing us exactly who you are. Yeah. I mean, if she wasn't already vice president, she'd probably be blowing him underneath the desk. And, I don't mince words. Not when it comes to someone like Kamala Harris, who disgusts me. She really does. Here she was dating a married man pretty openly, and using it to prop up her political career. And the Democrats are stupid enough to sign on for this simply because of her race. You people are idiots, and man, when this bill comes due, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. I look forward to the absolute obliteration of the Democratic Party. And this will be one of the main things. They'll be showing stuff like this. I mean, could this be more of a hypocrisy? Of all the events and all the topics you people tout and pretend to care about, this is the one. You're going to send Kamala Harris, a woman who used her sexuality, in my opinion, to further her political career. And Bill Clinton, a man who's been accused of doing naughty things with many different women who weren't his wife, including an intern, a White House intern. No, sorry. This is all just wrong. And Rose McGowan, she I think she started the Me Too thing with the best intentions. Obviously, I think she's pretty scarred from what's happened to her. She seems, pretty wrecked sometimes when you see her talk, or, the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. And you can see what she's done to her hair and her whole look. Like, it's almost like she can't be sexy anymore for fear of just being harassed constantly. And it's a shame. She was very beautiful. She was a good actress. I liked her in a few movies. But this, this I agree with her. So, and she's no right-wing conservative or anything. So this is, again, the left finally eating its own. Now that Trump's not in the crosshairs, they have nobody else to, they go after the next highest person, which is people like Kamala Harris and Bill Clinton. Joan, I'm almost done the video. Can't you stay? Can't you stay? What do you got? So many doggy things to do that you got to leave? Jesus. Oh, all right. I gave you a steak bone, but that wasn't good enough. I guess Joan just don't want to be in the videos again. She's got to get back to that couch. I'm going to have to do a video from the couch. Jay Leno apologizes for past jokes about Asians. In my heart, I knew it was wrong. Jesus, man. These struggle sessions are getting less and less amusing. Now they're just sad. Dude, you're retired. You're not on TV anymore. You didn't even need to do this. What are you doing? The former Tonight Show host said his apology is an example of cancel culture. Well, then who cares? You're out of the limelight. No one was saying, oh, Jay Leno still hasn't apologized for his Asian jokes. It has nothing to do with the tragedy at the spa. Literally nothing. Stop inserting yourself into this tragedy. It's pathetic. Michael Moore says Colorado shooter is, quote, is American as apple pie. Another guy. I don't know what happened to him. But he's very anti-gun, I think. And then he says, he suggested it would be wrong to classify the suspect as Middle Eastern and Islamic, even though he immigrated from Syria. Yeah, a lot of left-leaning people who immediately jumped to the conclusion that the shooter in Colorado was white are now backpedaling furiously because turns out he's from Syria and he's an immigrant. He had very strong anti-Trump views. He had very strong views on Islam. And, these guys are they're just too much. And here, oh God, this is terrible. Michael Moore tweets, now that we know who the Boulder killer is, we will soon see pundits and bigots harp on the Middle Eastern and Islamic. But make no mistake, a young man with anger issues, easy access to semi-automatic weapons who shoots up a nice town in Colorado is American as apple pie. Wow. Just wow. When some white guy does it, it's not a young man with anger issues. It's nothing to do with anger issues or mental illness. Then you hear the leftists say, "Oh, you people, you talk about, the mental health of this country. It's not about mental health. It's about white anger." And this is more of that nonsense. But hey, this is the narrative. I think these people at this point just jump on it because it's the way they make money and stay relevant. Mike, how relevant is Michael Moore anymore? And again, it's such a kick in the nads every time I see and talk about Stephen Colbert, because I thought he was so funny, and he is such a talented guy, but he can't help himself on the politics, and it's just bad. It's just bad. It's not comedy anymore. It's I don't know what it is. I guess it's zealotry. And I wonder I would love to hear what's going on behind the scenes. Is he being pressured? Is the pressure to stay at the top of late night that bad that he at just some point throws up his hands and say, "Well, I'm under contract. There's nothing I can do." Stephen Colbert says it's time to get rid of pro Second Amendment GOP. Vote them out. I mean, there was barely a difference between the Democrat and Republican parties for many years. You know, and all that's happened with regard to Trump and the Democrats, you know, this is what you harp on. It's just the next thing. It's just the next damn thing. It's like nothing. History doesn't matter to these people. It just doesn't matter. Because they think it doesn't matter to you. They think, oh, nobody remembers 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last year. No one remembers it. And I predicted a long time ago, when the beer virus ends, like truly ends, it'll be like you'll be in your car like 3 or 4 years from now, and you'll go into your glove compartment, you'll find a mask, and you'll be like, oh yeah. Because it'll be that forgotten by people. We'll be on to God knows what, duct taping our windows against anthrax, or I don't know what. But I wonder if Stephen realizes how caught up in this he is, or is it more cynical than that? Does he know exactly what he's doing? Has he just signed on for it totally and decided, yes, we have to influence people as hard as we can. This is our chance to get rid of the Second Amendment. We have to do it because it's the only way to save people. And where are they when things go to hell? When stuff like this, I mean, you just look at Chicago. Chicago has some of the most draconian gun laws in the United States, and it's a friggin' shooting gallery. It's an absolute shooting gallery. It's a disgrace, and it's easy to point to. You know, back in the day, you could kind of point to Chicago, but it wasn't that bad. Now it's just every week. Every weekend, it's another massacre out there. You talk about what happened in Atlanta, way more people have died in Chicago on a weekend. Way more. It's, you know, it's why I based a character about like him and John Oliver and a few other comedians in Hollywoke. And, you know, in that character, he kind of comes back for a minute and then lapses again. But, you know, I don't see Colbert ever coming back from this. I really don't. I just see, you know, the major TV networks just shrinking and collapsing while spreading out the audience over the internet. And who's ever left who buys into this, I guess, will continue to watch Stephen Colbert. Now, maybe at some point he'll just get away from politics, but if you're not going to get away from politics now, I mean, Jesus. And it's like a window into an alternate universe where Joe Biden is this great guy who saved us. He's not a bumbling old man who just fell down the stairs. It just, I can't get over it. I really can't. But another guy who I think's destroyed his comedy is Trevor Noah. Now, I always thought he was a good stand-up guy, but I always thought he was terribly cast for The Daily Show. Just terrible idea. You know, and really, I think The Daily Show as a concept has just been so, you know, copied. It's time to put it away. Put it away for a long time. It's just been over and over again now. Everybody's trying to copy the success of Jon Stewart, and they can't because they don't understand. It was Jon Stewart. The Daily Show existed before Jon Stewart. It was hosted by Craig Kilborn. And it was terrible, in my view. It was terrible. Craig Kilborn, to me, was always like a second-rate Bill Murray. He just wasn't that funny. He was a little too smarmy, and it seemed to be copying Bill Murray. Jon Stewart came in and made it his own. He had his own sort of witty delivery. He was the first guy to kind of be semi-serious about some of the stuff he talked about. And that he had a genuineness about him. See, I don't believe Trevor Noah necessarily has strong feelings. He may have sort of ginned himself up to have strong feelings for this rant he did, but Jon Stewart, I think, was a super genuine guy. And I think that because sometimes I'd see him on the show, and I watched that show all the time when he was hosting, and he just looked so tired and exhausted. And that, to me, was an indication of a guy who worked really hard and really worked to understand all the things he talked about. And I think that overwhelmed him to a certain degree, because he still was funny. He still had to be funny, but, you know, that's a lot of work to try to do comedy and try to talk about the news in a way that's kind of smart. And I didn't agree with everything he did, but for the most part, Jon Stewart seemed like he was at least talking about his genuine feelings about the news when he did a joke. Trevor Noah, I don't really get him, or John Oliver. You know, these guys who come from other countries and come here to do comedy about the United States. Like, that would be like me going to the UK and then doing a nightly TV show lambasting the Queen and the Prime Minister. Like, I'm not from that country. Where do I get off criticizing them? These guys aren't from the United States. And I assume John Oliver and probably Trevor Noah are dual citizens at this point, because they don't want to get clobbered every tax year. But still, it's a little hollow coming from guys who came out saying, "Oh, America's terrible. Oh, is my paperwork for dual citizenship ready? So I could take advantage of all the great tax breaks?" Yeah, it seems a little bit of a hypocrite. But the Lotus Eaters did a piece on this and played the rant. I'm not going to play it because I get flagged every time I play something on YouTube. It's ridiculous. But he went on, and part of the rant was, "You killed 6 Asian people," he said, talking to the shooter. Well, actually, he killed 8 people. 2 of them weren't Asian. The shooter in Colorado killed 10 people. They were all white. So he says, if there's anyone who's racist, it's a MFer who kills 6 Asian women. Well, what about someone who kills 10 white people? Are they not racist against them? By that logic. I don't agree with that. Your murders speak louder than your words. This righteous anger is BS. I don't buy it. It's too easy to do. It's a lot easier to do than comedy. It's a lot easier than to be funny. I mean, look, the shooter in Atlanta is going to jail forever if he avoids the death penalty. I don't know if they have the death penalty in Georgia, but he's confessed. He has no reason, as somebody pointed out, I forget, maybe on the Lotus Eaters as well, he has no reason to lie. What reason does he have to lie if he's a total racist? And in fact, being a racist would save him in prison. What prison gang you think he's going to join? It is going to be, a diverse rainbow. So he has no reason not to reveal to the world that he hates Asian women, if that's what he hates. But that's not what he said. He said he's probably off his nut because he's got a sex addiction, he claims, and he decided to kill people over it. I mean, that's pretty crazy. So for Noah to stand on a soapbox and go off on this, I mean, who is he? He's not an expert. He's a comedian, and not a very good one anymore, in my view. He's the host of The Daily Show. The third host, at least. So what, man? I mean, this just feels like posturing to get ratings. And now that the Syrian guy did his shooting, where's his rant now? You can't just do one rant and be like, well, it was outraged. It killed 8 women. Oh, well, there was another report. A guy killed 10 people. Oh, seems a bit hypocritical. You're not going to do another rant? Mr. Daily Show on every day? You're just going to skip over that? Not going to tell us your feelings about race and gender with regard to the shooter? Oh, that's different because, see, he's a different race, and we can only criticize a certain races of people on TV now. See, when I was growing up and there was some discrimination, the goal was to have no discrimination, to say, hey, treat everybody equally, equal opportunity, everybody's the same, we're all in this together kind of thing. Well, now it's like, no. You people are to blame. Certain people are to blame. And they just pile on because that's what's popular on Twitter. And I think it's pretty cowardly for these famous people to pile on like that. I get they're trying to protect their careers. There's a way to do that, and you don't have to pile on. You could just not do it. Trevor Noah does not have to pile on. He doesn't have to do it. And he has a responsibility with a platform that he has and the viewers he has to get the story straight. And he's not. And in my view, he's contorting the story as much as possible to fit the narrative. And if you fight back against that and they threaten to fire you, well, you got to deal with that. But I think a lot of these guys are just too comfortable. They don't want to go back. What you have to understand is stand-up comedians, actors, everybody in the business, they're like me. Only, see, I'm still poor. I'm still eating food out of a can and stuff like that, and still working, trying to make ends meet. Those guys don't want to go back to this. They do not. I can't blame them, but at the same time, I sleep like a baby every night. Sesame Street studio debuts ABCs of racial literacy to teach kids about racism. I don't know, Sesame Street. This could backfire. Racial literacy, huh? I don't know, man. First off, they're puppets. Okay? And the nice thing about the Muppets was that some people were purple and green and all these bright primary colors. And that was cool. You know, they weren't people, but they were kind of very human. Now you're going to inject race into it. It's going to get weird. It's going to get super weird. And I don't know if these guys are going to be able to do this, but let's see. First, Netflix said it's developing kids programming around racial justice. Now the people behind Sesame Street are following suit with race-based content aimed at children of all ages, including infants. Come on, man. Come on, man. Infants don't see race. They don't know. They don't know anything. They're happy little idiots. What are you teaching infants? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what Sesame Street used to teach. The ABCs of racial literacy. This does not bode well, especially if it's critical race theory. Provides activities for kids as well as tutorials for parents to teach children as young as infants about the dangers of racism. Oh, no. The work to dismantle racism begins by helping children understand what racism is and how it hurts people. Launching today our new ABCs of racial literacy. They're not going to understand this. What you're going to get are little kids, first, second, and third grade, shouting at each other, "You're being racist." And I know you social justice warriors love to hear that. But they're not going to understand. And those teachers, they'll be petrified of intervening. Absolutely petrified. You know, if a kid says, I'm going to hit you with a baseball bat, a teacher will intervene. If a kid says, you're a big poopy head, a teacher will intervene. If a kid stands up and says, you're being racist and should be punished, the teacher goes, oh no. And now the teacher has to make a decision. And that decision will be based on, you guessed it, the race of the students and the race of the student saying it. So, if you get some little kid who's got a taste of this racial literacy but doesn't quite get it, but decides to bully the other kids with it, you're screwed. You're screwed. You're absolutely screwed. Because if you try to correct that kid like, well, let's calm down, and that kid goes home to their parents, the amateur critical race theorist, you're going to have quite a meeting. And you're going to have to do quite a tap dance to explain why you're in the meeting and why the kid's accusing everybody of racism in your class. This is the politicization of everything. Right down to kindergartner. And it's hard enough to trust teenagers, young adults who are involved in crime. They lie all the time. There are all kinds of cases of people lying about everything. We've gotten grown adults committing, these hoaxes, right? These hoaxes, the certain celebrity who said he was accosted by a MAGA hat wearing racist. Turned out no one can find them. And that it seems he made the whole thing up using some of his friends. Yeah. What do you call it? The hoax. These hoaxes. Kids will do that in a heartbeat. Some 5th grader decides he doesn't like you. Oh yeah, you're in trouble. And the reason you're in trouble is because the moment that kid senses weakness, the moment he senses, oh, I've been corrected on everything but this, they're going to keep harping on it. And the more you back off, the more they'll keep doing it. Until you have a bunch of critical race theorists, but not really. See, they don't really understand it. They're just going to be bullying people with it. So how's that going to work? You're going to have teachers who will be afraid to even talk to these kids. And certain races will get passes because I ain't losing my job over this kid. All I got to do is tough it out another 4 months and he's out of my class. Yeah, I've heard the teachers talk. This is a disaster. Disney preps National Treasure series with Latina dreamer who will explore identity. Because when we all think National Treasure starring Nick Cage, we don't think an idiot version of the Da Vinci Code. We think identity. Let's explore identity. Yeah, that sounds god-awful. That sounds like the worst concept ever. It's like you took, in my view, a horrible movie and decided to make a series about it and then ruin that. So it's not even what the series should be about. Right? It's going to explore identity. Jesus. I mean, why did you even call it National Treasure? Why don't you just make up a stupid show? Just make up a show and say it's about a woman who explores identity. At least that would make sense. Why pull in the fans of National Treasure and be like, well, I like the movies. How different could it be? Wait a minute, this isn't about the Constitution or Declaration of Independence or the secret treasure Ben Franklin buried under the White House. What is this? It's like what they did with comics and video games and everything else. They took something that was kind of popular or very popular And they ruin it with wokeness and identity and diversity and inclusion and politics and CRT and everything else they can jam in there. And then anybody who doesn't like it is a bigot. Aren't you going to watch it, bigot? It's ridiculous. This is a dumb move, Disney. It's an incredibly dumb move. Someone stop this. Just stop it. Just have the next meeting at your show. This is what I think you should do if you're the producer. Everyone, this is a stupid idea. Yeah, we're just not going to do this. I've told the studio we're all quitting, and we can do better than this. So we're all going to put our energies elsewhere, into a show that's not completely woke-tarded. Does that sound good to everyone? Great. Yeah, I'd rather be broke too. Oh, there's Kamala. There was the link I was looking for earlier. Okay. So, I think that's the last one. Yeah. But, Jesus. Was there one more? I thought there was one more story. I don't know what happened. I must have clicked the wrong link. I guess the Sesame Street. We got that. Yeah, National Treasure. I mean, God. Okay. So, my head is bursting, Hollywood. Hollywood, just get it together. Just stop shooting yourself in the foot. I don't know how much more obvious this has to be, the Chinese Communist Party unraveling America, but that's what it looks like to me. It looks like they've taken hold of Hollywood and the culture and the media, and they're just, okay, here's the next stupid thing we want you to do to drive people apart and make people crazy. Destroy women's sports. Check. Get the worst people in the world to hold an event on women. Check. Ruin movies, TV shows, comic books, video games. Check. I mean, this is not something the Chinese are shy about talking about. They're looking to destroy us. And, between this and opening the border and making the military woke and pitting us all against each other, don't you think the plan's working? Don't you think maybe you should rethink this, wokies?